Good morning, and it is still morning here in the UK. It's actually 10:30, and I've been awake since about 9:15, but it took me a while to move out of bed, and I had to get something to drink and eat because I was actually starving Marvin. I didn't really have anything to eat since lunch yesterday, so I'm a bit late doing this, or later, and of course 9:15 was my second wake up today because it's Wednesday. So Wednesday means 5 o'clock alarm to get up, to get my Able and Cold delivery in and packed away as quickly as possible before curious cats investigate or ants infest it, because it's left on the ground. And I keep trying to remember to ask them to put it up, but it doesn't matter. I catch it. It just means once a week I'm up really early and it messes my sleep patterns up for the day. But it's lovely. It doesn't look like I don't know if it's going to rain today. It's sunny and then cloudy, so the light may vary here a bit on my drawing this morning. And that's fine actually. What I will do is I'll put another source of light on, and that'll help perhaps with shadows and so on. There we go. Job done. Not thinking straight. So I've had breakfast, which is a pile of fruit and a bit of bread with some peanut butter and a little bit of raspberry jam as a treat, and it was blooming delicious because the pita was warm. Anyway, and I've got my morning extremely weak coffee here. So this is a drawing I was doing yesterday afternoon. I was really tired yesterday. My sleep is all over the place since I've been up really late in Zoom meetings. I'm not complaining, it is what it is. But some days I'm just not very good and with sleep. So and yesterday I had Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, it seems, with for various things. And I just sat on my bed, put something on the computer. I went to BBC iPlayer and was listening to some kind of crime drama. Don't ask me what it was called, because I ain't got a clue now. I'd have to go and look it up. And was drawing until it was time for the next Zoom meeting. And then I had another one, and then another one. And it was crazy. So I was drawing this, and I don't want to carry on drawing it at the moment, so I'm going to take this out of the pad it's on. Because this paper is actually marker paper. And marker paper is very white, very smooth. It's treated so that alcohol markers don't go through the paper, even though it's very thin. And it is very thin. It's not translucent, but I really enjoy drawing on it with ordinary pens. Just getting a piece of scrap paper so I can clean the nib of this off before I start drawing. And for that drawing you saw, and what I'm going to use now, is a Uniball eye pen. And this is the micro size. The inks are waterproof, fade proof, document proof. They flow smoothly. They're one of the few... Where's my phone? Making noises at me. It's fine. One of the few sort of gel pens that I actually enjoy writing with. There aren't many. Because I hold my pen at such an odd angle, almost straight upright. It's difficult. So I'll do some drawing and some chat this morning for my morning vlog as I still continue to come around. And I'm talking very quickly, which I don't know why. So I'm going to start somewhere. Turn this round. It's A4 paper, so it's going to be bigger than the screen, because if I move this high up, I'll move it around so you can see what I'm doing in different places. But, so a couple of the meetings have very little to nothing to do with art at all. More to do with meditation than anything else. And they were lovely. It's always a pleasure to go and do things with like-minded people, it has to be said. But the other two yesterday were ones I set up with offer members of the Angela Porter's Colouring Book Fan Facebook group. To come along and say hello and finally get to say hello to me in person, as it were. Because I can be incredibly, not dense, but I can be slow at things where it involves me personally, because I still have an issue that people won't do these things. They won't want to speak to me, they won't want to know me, and it all goes back to childhood and messages I was given about myself way back then. And it's still very difficult. I'm also, surprisingly, quite an introvert. And when I'm in company, I tend to talk non-stop, because I think it stops people asking me awkward questions or again, this goes back to childhood, of saying unkind things, and I tend to talk so that nobody gets a chance to ask me awkward questions or say things that I might not want to hear. And I do listen, actually. I can be a really, really good listener. But when I'm really nervous, or when I'm with people I don't know, or in situations that are a bit nerve-wracking for me, then I do tend to talk non-stop. It's a barrier, it's a defence. And I still haven't quite got over it at times. At least I'm aware of it now, whereas in the past I wasn't. So awareness is the first step of changing behaviour, I think, as well as dealing with the issues that have caused this behaviour. And perhaps, it's not something that's going to have a huge impact on my life, but perhaps. But it's something that I think will, so I don't think I need to seek that kind of professional help I've had for other issues from my past. But it's one that hopefully with time and getting to know people and being more comfortable with myself perhaps, and a bit more confident that it will sort itself out. And of course, as much as I absolutely adore everybody I've met and everybody that's a member of the group, everybody seems so lovely. There's never any animosity or the kinds of things you can get sometimes in such groups online. It's actually, it's lovely to meet people, but it still provokes that need to talk non-stop and not let anybody else have anything to say in case it's something that I don't like or upsets me, or it's daft, but it's one of those, it doesn't happen, but it's one of those things that I carry as beliefs. It's a belief about myself, not about other people. It really is. It's a way of protecting myself. And I know, logically, I've got nothing to protect myself from, but logic doesn't always win out in the face of decades-long ingrained behaviours and self-beliefs. But as I said, the awareness is part of it. The next step is remembering that awareness when those flight, fight, freeze, fawn, or talk everybody else to death kicks in. So, and I apologise to people for it, because I'm aware of what I'm like. So I had the one meeting because I'd set it up, I'd set the time up, and Brett said she couldn't make it. She'd got confused whether I meant 4:30 US time rather than 4:30 UK time, and I work on my own local time. But so I set another meeting up for later on in the evening, and we had a couple of people pop in, and it was lovely. But I stayed up way too late for a 5 o'clock morning, and it was lovely to stay up and chat and to see people and to meet new people from the group. So I think the next meeting or meetings, opportunities to come and say hello, will be next weekend, at the weekends. But I'm not sure what kind of time yet. I haven't got that far yet today to try and work out times and things. But I will do, no doubt. And post it up, and perhaps set a meeting up that I can, because the interesting thing is that once I've set a meeting up or I use my own personal ID, that meeting is available until I delete it, except for my own personal ID. This is what I understand about Zoom. So I can set that meeting up and for a particular time, but then I can open the meeting or that particular Zoom room whenever I want until I delete it. So I think that may be the best option, and from there just see what, ask people to say what time they're available or what's the best time for them, and the room will be open then. Just drop a note to say what time you're available, and if I am, I'll pop along, or if Brett is, she can pop, well, she couldn't pop in because she'd need to be a host. So yeah, I'm talking Zoom here, and it's new to me, this hosting, so I haven't really got to the fullness of how it works and everything. So it's all a bit of a kerfuffle for me, excuse me. But it doesn't take me long to learn the ins and outs of technology generally. I've got a runny nose. I had the windows open overnight. I'm beginning to get hot flashes at night again, which is probably too much information, but it's a fact of life for somebody of my age, I think. Correction, it's a fact of life for a woman of my age, or younger, or older. Somebody my time of life. And they stopped for a while, and they're starting back up, and so I had the windows open overnight, which means dust, tree pollen have wafted in and got at my nose, and the antihistamines help, but this time of year they just don't, they're not quite enough. I mean, I don't get the really bad asthma that I used to during tree pollen season, before somebody worked out that it actually was asthma. Fantastic doctor I saw, who listened to my chest and said, I can remember his words now, he said, yeah, he said, you've got a chest full of organ pipes. I said, oh, that sounds lovely. And he says, no, it's not. He said, you've got asthma. And he said, I'm absolutely certain that you've got asthma. I'm going to treat you as if you're an asthmatic. If the treatment works you are. He said, we don't ask people to keep diaries and, various things. He said, I'll treat you. I want to see you in 2 weeks. And if things are better, then we'll, that's it. He'll be on my list. And it was. Oddly, the asthma wasn't wheezing and difficulty breathing per se. It was coughing, and I ended up having to, I just thought it was, allergies, or because I'd been treated for allergies for a while through having a snotty nose. Excuse me, I'm going to blow my nose. There. And so I've been back and forth for a while with this, and I'd had emergency x-rays for coughs that lasted for a couple of weeks around tree pollen season, And I was treated for viral wheezes. There was nothing on my chest, and they just thought it was allergies, and partly it is. But I woke up one morning and I could not breathe. I was wheezing, I couldn't catch my breath, I was breathing fast and shallow. I didn't know if I was having a heart attack or anything else. So I made an appointment at the doctor's, was seen very quickly, and the doctor I saw thought I had something called a viral wheeze. Gave me some steroid tablets for a few days, cleared up. And so, if it works, clears up, that's great, don't need to see you again. If you're still having trouble, come back. So great for 2 weeks, and then I had the same problem but worse. And I was coughing, and with this I was coughing so hard I actually felt something go crack in my voice box or in my throat. And so I luckily ended up seeing the respiratory specialist in the the GP's practice, general practitioners, and he then worked out that I developed late onset asthma, and at the time, the age I was, he says I was the prime age for women to develop it, and it's a lot more common than people think, because it's thought that asthma is a childhood illness, but you can develop it any age. So he gave me the treatment, the inhalers. I'd had a preventer inhaler. No, I wasn't given a preventer inhaler. Yes, I was for the no. Or was I for the first one? I might have. But I didn't. No, I wasn't actually. It was just steroid tablets when I saw the first doctor. This one gave me the preventer inhaler and the reliever, with instructions that I had to carry the relieving inhaler around with me all the time, just in case, and a spacer so that it's much easier to use inhalers and you get more of the dose of the steroid when you do use them, and instructions I had to come back in 2 weeks. He asked about antihistamines, which I was already taking, and he said to keep taking them, and to make a note of anything that sets me off coughing or wheezing in the meantime, and told me about various things like cleaning products in the house can do it. He said one of the worst things amongst his patients are air fresheners and scented candles. Well, of course, I absolutely loved scented candles. So I thought, okay, well, I haven't made the connection between scented candles, so, you've got to try these things out, lit them, and within a few minutes I started coughing, even though I hadn't been coughing for a few days before that. I left it a while. So I realised that all my lovely scented Yankee candles had to go. So my younger sister and my niece had a bonanza because I'd collected them, and some of them, my favourites, I would buy as many as I could, sort of, not within reason, because sometimes they go out of fashion, as it were, with Yankee candles, and I didn't want that to happen with my favourites. I wanted to have them when I wanted them. So there are a couple I could not part with, and I still have them in, because I've worked out that I can have the candle on for a short while if I'm not in the same room, and it just leaves a couple of hours later there's that very subtle smell there. And of course I don't use air fresheners in the house because I know they do set me off. Tree pollen's a big one, and wood smoke can be. We have mountain fires where kids go on the mountains and set fire to the bracken and the grass, when the weather gets warmer and everything's dry, and the fine particulates from that can set me off. Wood burning stoves people have round and about, have coal burning, to be careful around those. But I rarely have an asthma attack now, which is really good. So the other interesting thing was he checked my hands and my elbows to see if I had dry skin or eczema, psoriasis, and I have developed some patches of that, and they seem to be, you know, in strange places, like on my forehead. I get it. I've always had very dry skin, but it's got worse. So really, really interesting how lots of things seem to be interlinked, which is not surprising considering our body, all parts of our body are interlinked. So yeah, so it doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do, except have smelly candles. But the most, the most interesting thing is that I love incense as well. And he said, because I asked, well, what about incense? And he says, I actually don't know. He said, but the only way for you to find out is to burn it and see. And I have absolutely no problems whatsoever with burning incense. And the scientist in me, and I reported this back to him when I saw him next. I said, well, scented candles are definitely out, as are air fresheners of any kind in the house. I said, but I'm okay with incense. And he said, that's interesting. I said, yeah. I said, but it's got bigger particle sizes, hasn't it, than the particles that come off scented candles or air fresheners. And he said, you might be onto something there. And also, the incense I buy is all natural. It's, you know, it's a mixture of chunks of stuff. So it's often got frankincense and myrrh in, various herbs and spices. And so I sometimes get the ones that are on wood sticks, but I'll only buy ones that are very natural. They can be a bit worse than the other one, but they're fine. Again, I usually only light them when I'm upstairs working, and they're safe enough to burn on their own downstairs. So yeah, so there you are. Story of me, my runny nose, my hoarse voice, because it sounds hoarse to me, but it may not to you. And I'm not sure whether it's the effects of the preventer inhaler, because one of them is a hoarse voice, problems with the quality of your voice, or whether it was the coughing and I damaged my vocal cords, or whether it's been the effect of the pandemic where I don't talk so much, or something else. But I can no longer sing. And I'm gutted, because that used to be one of the things I used to love to do, and I just can't seem to get my voice to do what I want it to do. So whether it's one of these things, all of these things, or something else completely unrelated, I do not know, because when I sing, my voice feels very tense as well. My voice, my throat, my vocal cords, my voice box seems very tense. So it may be that I'm worried about not being able to sing, and it just makes it worse. I don't know. But again, I've had an awareness of that, so when I do attempt to sing, and I do try to sing quite often, then I try to be aware that of my vocal cords, and to try to relax them and relax my throat, to allow the vocal cords not just to be tense as I use them, but to try to relax. So it's going to take time to practice and to work out how this is, and to settle myself down. It may be that I'm just fearful of doing more damage I really don't know is the honest answer. And without having a camera up my nose to look down my throat again, I won't really know. And, you know, sort of like our lovely NHS is going to have a backlog of people who've got far more problems than me not being able to sing. So I'm happy to wait until absolutely necessary on that one. No, there's nothing wrong because, you know. So there we are. It's me watering about stuff. So, I can waffle on. I think talking on the morning vlogs would mean that I wouldn't talk other people to death when I get into Zoom rooms and meetings with them, but obviously it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. Now, this is an example here of drawing where I've got absolutely no preconceived ideas of what I want to draw. I just started and I'm letting it flow out from there, and I'm actually quite happy with what's coming. There must be conscious thought in what I'm doing, but I'm not aware of it as I'm talking about other stuff. But it's quite different to think. It's the same but different. There's a different feel to it. And I think there's a different feel to this kind of art since I've been looking closely at Star Wars vehicles and such things to get different shapes and the ideas of how shapes can be fitted together and how I can vary things myself. So this is being really quite interesting. I did sit and draw some of the other one, added little bits to it in the second meeting with people from Facebook, and Brett said she'd never seen me draw, which, well, yeah, I don't think she ever has. And she found it really interesting, and that was really nice to hear, because I shouldn't be surprised because I enjoy watching other people create art, do crafts, and I don't mind if they talk about their days and what's going on in life and so on as they do it, because it's, you know, it gives you an insight into those people and a little bit more about everything that goes on. You know, we're people with lives, and sometimes very different lives and different points of view and all kinds of things. So it was nice to be able to draw, and to, you know, questions were asked about how I do it and why, you know, so intricate, and comments like, oh, I couldn't draw a straight line. Well, you don't need to draw straight lines to be able to do art. My lines may look straight, but if you were to put a ruler along them, I can guarantee you they're wobbly. And my lines don't always go in the direction I think I want them to go in. They have a habit of going in directions I may not always be in control of. But that's fine by me, to be honest. Because it's that unexpectedness that gives me that freedom to learn when my art is good enough. It may not be what I'd planned to do exactly if I'd planned something, but the little lines that go off in different directions, or the unexpected twists and turns and shapes and the way that things didn't end up where I wanted them to for whatever reason, I've learned to work with those and to accept them as perhaps that's not where I wanted it to go, but that's where it meant to go, and that's a good thing, I think. It certainly stops me from giving up on each piece of art I do, and to continue working with it and getting through to the end. I think I've mentioned that there is always a point in any art I do, whether it's abstract, drawing templates for colouring books, doing digital art and mandalas, where I look and I think, oh, what on earth am I thinking? This is going to be awful. And I go, come on, Angela, you've been here before. You know that if you push forward with it, it will work out fine. And you'll be happy with it in the end. And that's exactly what I do. And I usually am. Or at least I can recognise that it's good enough. And again, that was a hard lesson for me to learn through the MDR counselling. And I left counselling. Whether it's permanently or temporarily, I do not know, because it all depends what life throws at me going forward. Because I realised I was good enough for now. I was good enough. Not perfect. There's still things that aren't, that I've yet to pick up about myself that I need to work on. Talking non-stop is one of them. Not giving others a chance to talk. The fear of me being made fun of, and it's very unfair to people, and I know this, but it's the how would I describe it? It's the beastie on my back, as it were. It's somebody else telling me this, almost. We all have an inner voices, and we all have an inner critic. And my inner critic was on overdrive. And I came to describe it as the beastie on my back, the one that would really, really say horrible things to me, or, it would be that, oh, you're useless, you're never going to be good at anything, nobody's going to like you. The old messages of you're fat, you're stupid, you're ugly. These are things I grew up with. And there are times, it's the issues are mine, not anybody else. And I put myself in situations where I know the beastie will be provoked because I'm nervous or unsure. And the automatic reactions are usually of me to talk non-stop because I'm actually really, really nervous. And I'm in a situation that perhaps isn't always the best for an introvert. I'm a bit of an odd introvert because I really enjoy being with people who are similar to me, sort of. And I sort of get both energy from those interactions, but also an intense amount of draining as well. Perhaps I'm more of an ambivert than an introvert or an extrovert. I come from a family of absolute rampant extroverts. I think I had to play at being one to try to fit in, but it never worked. So, and I think I've discovered this side of me, or understood it, and I'm far more accepting of it than perhaps I would have been. I'm not perhaps about it. I'm far more accepting that this is who I am. And being able to escape from that old pressure of you should be like this. And the answer is no, I shouldn't. I am me. There's a fantastic Robbie Williams song that came out while I was still having, still a couple of years away from leaving therapy. And I had a couple of songs that were my anthems that meant a lot at that time. And one of them was by Jethro Tull, and it was Beastie from the album Broadsword and the Beast. And that's where the beastie on my shoulder, the beastie on my back comes from, because a lot of the lyrics there actually related to how I felt about this and what I was trying to do, and disempower that beastie in some way by proving it wrong, proving it false, proving it a liar to me. And this beastie is the inner critic that's been created by what other people have told us about ourselves. But the Robbie Williams song was I Love My Life. And it really did become my anthem. It would be played almost constantly in my car when I was driving, when I was on my way to therapy. I would sing it out loud and proud. I put the lyrics into my journal, like I did with Broadsword and the Beast. They were two most played songs at the time. And I listened to it just a couple of days ago for the first time in a long time. And the words are still incredibly meaningful, even now. And it makes me smile when I hear it. It reminds me of what I was working so hard to become, to be, to heal from, and that I've done it, partly. It doesn't mean there won't be, it says, can't promise you there won't be sadness along the way in difficult times and things like that, but you'll learn you're strong enough to work through them, and I certainly really do seem to be that. And yeah, so Robbie Williams, yeah. I bet it's on YouTube if you want to listen to it, if you don't know the song. And it was as I said, it was very, very powerful for me during that period of my life. And some of the lyrics are coming through my head, you know, about making mistakes, and you know, I've made a few, and God knows I've made a few, and we all make mistakes in life, but we learn from them, hopefully, and move on and learn not to do them again and make amends, perhaps. And that includes making amends to ourselves. It's part and parcel of our lives. To be human is to be perfectly imperfect. To be an artist is to be perfectly imperfect. That's it as well. And to accept those perfect imperfections. Because sometimes it's those little imperfections, those surprise accidents in art that really make it, excuse me, drink time, that really make it or add something to it, or when you look back you think, I'm glad that happened because that took that in a different direction and changed it into something else. You work with it. I think it was Bob Ross called it happy little accidents. Creative opportunities is something else that I like to refer to, these unexpected turns or things that don't quite work out how you wanted them to or expected them to, and not to give up because of that, because yeah, it's a creative opportunity to work with that, to do something that is new and different, and even to learn from that. And here I went to tidy this up, and that line's ended up a lot thicker than I'd originally intended it, but that I think is going to dictate some of the things I need to go back and do in this, because everything's quite one thickness, and to add those thicknesses, that contrast is important. Made it in line form. The chances are, like with the other drawing I showed you to begin with, when I finished it's going to be scanned in, and then colour can be added digitally. And I think I'll be focusing on using monochrome colours and interesting background colour textures as well. Often browns for some reason. That needs tidying up. I've made that bit disappear there, so let's make a feature of it. It's interesting, so I'm going to have to do that here. That'll be fine. I can always alter it digitally if it doesn't gel with me, but later on. But say, just leave it. And if I hadn't said oops or whatever, you might would have thought I'd intended to do that perhaps, but I really didn't. So so it's been really interesting meeting people. I look forward hopefully to saying hello to a lot more of the members of the Facebook group going forward, and perhaps doing live things with them via Zoom, or I might even brave Facebook Live. Not Facebook Live, Facebook. YouTube. Live at some time perhaps. I really don't know if that will happen, but we'll see, because even though I've had this YouTube channel for a number of years, never really made use of it, never given it that chance for anything much to become of it. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Again, it's part of that confidence, it's that belief, well, nobody will want to watch me drawing or listen to me talk about things. And yet I wonder how many of the other people who do drawing vlogs, for want of a better word, believed that as well at the time that they started. I don't know. It's a personal voice. So it's about 40 minutes I've been drawing, and it's detailed, but it's not as detailed as I could make it if I wanted to. But I really need to get on and do some other stuff today, because it's dry, I need to walk, I need to shower and get myself sorted, do some washing, and I've got to buy a new clothes horse because my clothes horse collapsed once yesterday, so I put it back together, and it collapsed again last night. So a clothes horse is a stand where we put laundry on or ironing on in the UK to air it. And I'm a bit gutted because this one's not very old. My other one I'd had for 20 odd years and it still worked perfectly well. This one, oh God, nightmare. And so I'll have to have a look and see, perhaps I can fix it, in some way, but I don't know whether I can. I'll have a look and see what I can do. But yeah, so thank you for joining me once again. I'll say that because I really do appreciate when people pop by, watch the video, perhaps leave a comment. It's always, it goes in line with what I was wittering about in this video, about not having the confidence in myself to think that people would find what I do interesting or enjoyable or want to hear what I have to say, perhaps. But thank you, just thank you. And again, I'll just mention that any product I mention in these videos, I buy them myself. I'm not sponsored or paid by anybody. The only things that I mention that I promote that I am paid for are things that I do myself, like my self-published books or books I work for publishers to do. And I guess that goes without saying, really. I'm not paid by them to promote myself, but it's just something. Do I promote myself? I don't know whether I do. I just mention it in passing generally. But thank you for doing that. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe if you'd like to see more regularly, and subscription makes me happy because I think people really want to notice now. Seriously, but please subscribe. I'll be doing these vlogs, morning vlogs, most days, I would think. Today it was touch and go because I was so late getting up, but I thought, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And any suggestions for things you'd like to see, pop a comment. Any suggestions how you'd like to see this drawing go, leave a comment, because I may not do any more on this one today. The other one I would like to and get it done. And just pop comments, let me know, and who knows, I'll see what I can do. I mean, I don't know whether this is the right way up for this one, or whether it's going to That way is quite interesting because these look like they should grow up, but they also look like they could grow that way, or that they could go this way. Is there an up and down? I don't know whether there's an up and down to this. It is what it is, and it's definitely going to grow. So I'm Wittering. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And thank you for all your comments, for likes and subscriptions. They're very much appreciated. Until tomorrow morning, probably, take care of yourselves and find things to do in life that bring you joy as well. So thank you very much for joining me. Take care now. Bye-bye.